And we're live for another edition of Keep Calm and Carry. I really appreciate everybody swinging by. Thank you so much for taking the time on a lovely Monday evening to kind of end your day and to, just kind of talk about what's going on in the 2A community and talk about concealed carry and gun laws and staying active, all that. Just, I really do appreciate it. Tonight we have a very special guest in 1776. I really do appreciate him taking the time on a very, very busy Monday morning, as they always are. And before we get into our actual live chat, I got some housekeeping stuff. I just wanted to take a second real quick to remind everybody that fitandfire.com is up and running. So far, I've gotten a lot of traffic over there, and I sure do appreciate everybody swinging by. I'm constantly adding stuff each and every single week, so continue to swing on by to find some deals of the week, some great finds on the internet, and then some additional stuff that I'm able to add on. A lot of that stuff is through affiliate links, so just right up front, just so you guys know that anytime you click on one of those things, it sure does help out the channel. If you buy something, I get a small cut, and it's no cost extra to you, so that's a big help, and I sure do appreciate that. So the next thing I wanted to touch base on is some upcoming videos and some things that are going on with the channel. This will be the last live chat that I do for 2 weeks, because next week I am going on a pretty cool trip, and I'm going to share some of that stuff on Instagram. You guys are going to be able to check some things out, and I'll have a little bit of a contest, kind of a where in the world is Fit and Fire. So at the end of the week, those people who have the most correct answers of where I'm at for each picture that I post may end up winning a prize, and we'll get into that later on this week. The next thing is I've got some videos regarding the Glock 19 that I just had some upgrade stuff done with Williams Gunworks, so more to come on that. I've got a awesome video coming up on a new Daniel defense weapon that we're going to talk about, and then kind of expanding my knowledge base on a couple of other things. So a lot of stuff here to come here over the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. I also want to say real quick a special shout out to some individuals who have reached over to Patreon and have started contributing to my Patreon. I've got a link to that down in the description of this video once it gets uploaded into YouTube for you guys to come back and take a look at. So real quick, I just want to say thank you to Andrew, The Real Gun Snob, 180 Seconds, Craig, and Semi-Armed Life. I really do appreciate each and every single one of you contributing to the channel. That really, really means a lot. Once I hit 10 Patreon members, we will do a giveaway, and then we'll have a giveaway at the end of June as well. So real quick, let's head on over to the chat room, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Looks like we've got a lot of stuff already going on. BR549, always good to see you. Hee haw. Logan White's WW Clay 86. I just call you Clay. Good to see you. Thanks so much for commenting on the video. Semi-Armed Life, naturally. Good to see you. The Grim Reaper, staple there. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for swinging by. And let's get right into it. As we've already said, we've got 1776 or bust. Now you have to excuse him. He's kind of getting over a little bit of a sickness, so he's going to have some coughing. He's going to be drinking some water, so please excuse that. But sir, thank you so much. Real quick, tell us about who you are, where you came from, and what's 1776 or bust.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Mark, for inviting me on the channel. First off, in the live chat, I absolutely love doing live chats. Kind of brings the community a little bit closer together, in my opinion, and it's always good to be a part of it. 1776 or bust is kind of, when it started, was a real basic channel. I know if people go back to some of my first videos, it looked like I was in a dungeon. I had this really ugly tabletop. The footage was horrible. The sound quality was horrible. Some of my early videos, you could actually hear a desk fan going because it's so hot in this room sometimes. So it really started off with me just kind of, I don't know, wanting to make content. You know, I didn't really think of getting subscribers at that point, but I've always been, and I can't say always been, but in the past several years, I just got really into firearms. And, being in the Northeast, it's not exactly gun country up here. And so there isn't a lot of good conversation to be had when it comes to firearms. So I created the channel just to kind of go out there and talk about stuff that I liked and, you know, learn. And I think that's a part of the deal where you kind of get into this and right away you start learning from everybody else out there. And some of the information you get is really good. Excuse me. And some of the information you get is just horrible. But, you know, from the same point, I try to bring content out that, you know, makes sense for everybody to understand. And, you know, I've just been really happy doing it. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's a lot of fun, but at times it can be very taxing because you're doing a lot of different things. You've got life, you've got family, you've got work. And then you come home and you say, damn it, I don't really want to make a video, but you do anyway. And over time, I mean, my channel's been around, I think maybe now, I think slightly under 2 years. And, you know, the video quality's gotten better. The sound quality's gotten better. And it's just reinvesting back into it, you know, with the whopping $120 I make every 3 months doing it. But it's all good, man. I enjoy it. So that's sort of how it all came about.
And what was the aha moment to you that really got you pushed over that edge to say, I have to start making videos?
I think just watching a lot of the content on YouTube and, you know, just like I said, just wanting to be able to converse with a larger group of people and, you know, watching several videos from different people and saying, you know what, I can do that. Let's see where this goes. And so for me, it was just basically the idea that I wanted to share information and I wanted to learn and I just kind of wanted to get a part into this gun community. And that's where it all came from.
Right on. So right off the bat, I've got a lot of people in the chat room already saying that they love the flag setup and everything you got going. Now you've changed some things around.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that, or?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny because everything used to be this way. Now everything's that way. So you know, this is actually like a small shoe closet, is what this is. It's there's nothing, you know, awesome about it. It's not a good stereo or studio, excuse me. It's just a closet. And so I basically, you know, bought my gun safe. I needed a place to put it. And I just kind of took over the closet, threw all my wife's shoes out. She hates me for it, but it's okay. And basically just kind of changed everything. It's just a little bit more comfortable this way. So, you know, I've got my safe, I've got my 76 flag here. This one is the backdrop that I used to have, but it just, you know, size wise, it didn't make sense to keep going horizontal. So I went vertical instead. And it actually is pretty nice. You know, I feel better doing it this way.
Right on. So one of the main topics that we really wanted to dive in this week was the fact that it should be really no secret. You are in which state?
New York.
New York.
That's
New
right.
York. Yeah. So first and foremost, I just want to lay down some ground rules for everybody. We're not here to bash New York or California or any of those states, because there are a lot of great people there. There are conservatives as well as liberals who are gun owners in each one of those states. So we're not here to bash them. We're here to learn what we can from what 1776's experiences in New York. So tell me a little bit about some of the gun laws that you know about in New York. What are you allowed to have? Can you conceal carry? Or what is that all about?
Sure. Well, you know, to begin with, we are definitely not as bad as California. And I think they definitely have it the worst in the nation. For New York State, if you, let's say you want to buy a long rifle, you basically go into your gun shop, you fill the background check out, and then they run you, and then you can leave with it the same day. So long rifles are usually not a problem. So if you want to get a you know, semi-auto, bolt action, shotgun, you can do all of those long guns. You know, and it's not really a problem. The problem really comes with handgun ownership. But getting back to the rifles really quick, you know, just some of the things that you can and cannot have. You know, for example, in New York State, you cannot have a muzzle brake, you cannot have a flash hider, or, you know, any kind of suppressors, no threaded barrels. You know, you can't have a pistol grip. You can't have a you know, telescoping stock. You cannot have a bayonet. You can't even have a bayonet lug. If you have a detachable magazine, it's a box mag, you can't have more than 10 rounds. And it's just ridiculous. So basically, to summarize what it is for rifles and long guns like that, if it looks really scary, it's probably illegal. You know, if let's say you wanted to get a shotgun with a pistol grip, you cannot have a tube that holds more than 7 rounds. So, you know, if you're looking for like a Benelli or something that holds more than 7, you can't get it because it's illegal. you know, so that's why a lot of times people will go and get like an SKS, because those are still technically legal, because there is no detachable magazine, there is no pistol grip, unless of course you know, alter it. But no AKs, no ARs, and if you do, they have to have pinned magazines, or they have to have this really stupid looking stock on it, which is just, in my opinion, just uncomfortable to shoot. And that's why you don't ever really see me with too many ARs or anything like that, because it just doesn't make sense. The real fun is actually the handgun laws. You know, for you to get, and again, we are not a constitutional carry state like yours, Mark. I know that you said that earlier. I heard you saying that. So God bless you and Kansas, because that's great. For New York, it is a May, I think, I can't remember what it's called, but it's, I think,
May issue.
May issue, correct. So you apply. The application process is fairly short. It's just the waiting period. So let's say you go to apply for a carry permit. And in my county, particularly Ulster County, New York, if, like, let's say you want to get a handgun, you want to be able to carry this, the problem is that you have to put a letter in explaining why you want the right to conceal carry. Once that letter goes in, the judge will get it, and then he'll have to interview you. So you actually have to go in with a face-to-face interview with a judge, who will then make a final determination whether or not you're going to conceal carry, or if you're going to have it for hunting or sporting, you know, range shooting, that type of stuff. You know, I live in a rural area, so for me, it was a little bit easier, because I explained I have coyotes, I have bear, and I have 2 kids. So I wanted the right to be able to carry. So the judge said, okay, no problem. Now, once you get that license, you then have to go buy your gun. And this is where it gets even more convoluted and just ridiculous. So let's say, for example, I wanted to buy a 19X. I go in, I pay for it. You know, you get your sales receipt. You then have to take the sales receipt to your local sheriff's office. We may not have a long enough time, Mark, by the way, to go through this whole process. I just want to let you know.
Okay, that's okay.
So you have to take your receipt up to your sheriff's office. The sheriff's office, and again, this is where it's even crazier. It depends on the county you live in. Your sheriff's office can issue you this little green card. It's a green coupon is what they call it. Or as Johnny would say, coupon. So you get this green coupon, and basically what happens is you take the coupon back to the gun dealer, and then you give it to them, and then they run your background check, and then if you're cleared, you get to get your handgun. Now, what it used to be in my county is you would go to the sheriff's office with your paperwork, you'd, you know, sign away your life, and then you give them, and then give you back your green coupon the same day. So you go in and you come out with it. Well, they changed that because of one circuit court judge who runs the Mid-Hudson Valley, who is extremely left when it comes to gun rights. He decided that it no longer could they use a stamp from the sheriff, that a judge had to physically sign each amendment to your license. So now that can take anywhere from, depending on the judge, you know, 3 weeks to 2 months, you know, and it's just, it is unbelievable, because a lot of the things they're doing are completely arbitrary. There is no written law about it. The legislative branch has not voted on anything. You know, they've tried to pass new laws, but it always gets killed in the Senate, because we still have a Republican Senate finally in New York. But still, they're just arbitrarily holding your right to get your gun, your property that you paid for. So, you know, like I said, it's a very long, drag out process. One of the other issues is depending on county. So, for example, there are some counties in northern New York where they will actually pre-issue those green coupons to you. And then when you go in, you get your gun, you have, like, I think it's either 5 or 10 days to then get that paperwork back to the sheriff's office, and then you're all good. So there is absolutely no, you know, cohesive anything in New York State. It just depends on counties. So if you go, like, let's say further south towards the city, forget about it. You know, your wait could be even more dramatic. And at certain points, you may not even be able to get your concealed carry. So it has just become an absolute ridiculous fiasco to get a gun in New York State.
Yeah, yeah. And real quick, shameless plug, the only reason why that I know about may issue and shall issue is because of episode 8. I think it's 8. Yeah, episode 8 of the Semi-Armed Life. So if you guys are into podcasts, by all means, head on over to iTunes and SoundCloud and check out the Semi-Armed Life. They've got a lot of great information in there. So, and speaking of which, Semi-Armed Life asked a question regarding New York. It says 1776 or bust. Have you heard that the Republican Lieutenant Governor candidate supports the SAFE Act?
Yes, and I will tell you that what that boils down to is trying to get votes. For anybody who's a Republican trying to win office in New York State, it's impossible. You cannot win office here. We've just been overrun, period. And so, is that talking points? Potentially. It could be just a way for him to get more votes, although the likelihood of him winning is probably very slim to none. So, some of the talk I don't really get too caught up into, because a lot of times it's just to get votes. And that's New York politics. It's one of the the most corrupt political systems in America. But that's what they do.
Right on. So there's a ton of information that is out there about New York. And I just wanted to touch base real quick and just kind of reiterate the point. So from your experience, what has been the most frustrating aspect of trying to purchase a pistol or concealed carry license?
I'll actually show it to you. So, actually, wrong gun. Sorry, I have too many.
That's a good problem.
Is that even possible? One of the things, this right here was the most frustrating portion of ever owning a gun, and this is my CZ-P01 Omega. So this actually took me 3 months to get. And the reason being is because the judge who was supposed to sign my amendment so I could actually pick up my handgun was away on vacation. And so, my property was sitting in my local gun shop for 3 months because I could not get somebody to sign a piece of paper. And I actually called his office. I called the circuit court judge's office. I called the sheriff of the county. And finally, the sheriff of the county got involved and actually made a few phone calls. And then poof, magically, it got to me within a week after that phone call. So that was the most frustrating because, me personally, and I can't speak for everybody, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have never committed a crime in my life, at least never been caught for it. I've always worked to better my community. I mean, I was a firefighter and paramedic down south. Now I have something different I'm doing, but it's still about the community and just trying to, be a positive role model for not only my own kids, but just for people in general. And, when you kind of get slapped around, it makes you really resent everything you work for, because there is absolutely no, I guess you could say, segregation between the criminal versus the law-abiding citizen. And so they pretend that all these ridiculous requirements are somehow going to deter crime. And we all know that that's not true. The criminal is a criminal because they don't pay attention to the law. And so, when they have all of these laws that really threaten the non-criminal, it is extremely frustrating because, you go to work every day, you pay your taxes, you try to do what's right, and you see absolutely no benefit to it because they keep basically handcuffing you based on their own political agendas. So I'd say that's probably the most frustrating part of it.
Yeah, that's terrible. I can't see, and that's something that's really foreign to individuals like myself that come from a constitutional carry state. We don't have these concerns, and my heart just goes out to you in having to deal with these types of things. Even when I was still in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is technically Tennessee. Most of the installations in Tennessee, and I lived in Tennessee. Still didn't have any problems with purchasing or selling firearms. So a lot of this stuff is extremely interesting, and there's a very real chance that I could end up in New York here in the coming years. So
right.
We'll just
Don't
have to
do it.
It's out of my control.
Tell your wife not to do it.
I know. In fact, June 1st, if things had gone the way that they were supposed to back in January, June 1st, my wife was supposed to have reported to that lovely symbol that you have on your hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go Army. West Point, baby.
West Point. So she was there was an opportunity for her to be an instructor there and get her master's degree at Columbia University.
Yep.
So yeah. So but things changed. Things went to a different direction. So but there's still a very viable chance that we can end up at Fort Drum.
Yeah, if you do, you're going to feel the pain, but at least we'll be neighbors.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I noticed that somebody had mentioned something about what the SAFE Act was, and that's also something that was, this happened after Newtown, the shooting that occurred over in Connecticut, which is literally maybe 45 minutes from where I live across the border. And, we had that school shooting up there. And obviously the knee-jerk reaction was, oh, let's ban anything that looks menacing. So in all of his stupidity, Governor Cuomo, really literally behind closed doors at midnight, with working in cahoots with the Senate and the Assembly, passed a law in New York State called the SAFE Act. And what that basically did was it created all of these ridiculous requirements for guns. So, like I said, no pistol grips, no telescoping stocks, no high cap mags. So this plethora of different things that occurred in that one single swoop. And we've been fighting that now for years, and it has gone nowhere. We can't win. It really frustrates me because, I grew up in New York. I mean, I'm a native New Yorker. I've always lived here. And then I left New York. I moved down south for about 10 years. And then I came back. And, for me growing up in New York, there was a little bit of I guess you can say almost, I don't want to say arrogance, but almost like a swagger to being a New Yorker. The idea that if you can make it here, you really can make it anywhere. Thank you, Frank. But, when all this stuff has changed, and now I come back and I've been up here now, I think 11 years again, it really has destroyed the state. New York is not, in my opinion, this proud, tough, go get 'em kind of state. We've really been defeated. And I blame that all on, our politics and where we're at as a state right now with this current governor.
Yeah, and that's extremely unfortunate. Again, hopefully you guys can lock your heels in the sand and really kind of fight the good fight up there,
Yeah.
for your rights,
Yeah, we could use some help. I mean, we have a lot of grassroots organizations up here, a lot of the gun clubs, the sportsmen of the Hudson Valley, these types of people. And we fight. We go to, Albany, we meet with our assembly people, and it really is a really big struggle here. And, what I always get annoyed with also about this is that we never hear a peep from the NRA. Nothing, not a thing. And, it'd be nice if maybe the NRA would help out more, or even, the Gun Owners of America. They're always asking for donations. They're always asking for membership. But you have a very large gun community in New York State that needs help, just like California and just like some of these other states that are now starting to be really hijacked by this agenda of anti-gun.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, well, we've kind of hit that, kind of beat that horse a little bit there. We probably could be on here for a few hours talking about the different laws up there in comparison to what, some of the things that I see here in Kansas. Sure. And I just wanted to take a second to reach back over to the chat room, guys. You guys are doing great. I see a lot of stuff going on, and I'm having to scroll back quite a ways just to get into some of the things that was said earlier. And one question popped up that I actually think is very relevant, and something that I picked up in one of my training courses that I went to here recently with tactical response. And that question comes from BR549, carry insurance. He's going back and forth on whether you should go with CCSW and or USCCA, and just kind of, I thought maybe I'd pitch it to you and see, do you have any experience with those types of insurance? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea?
I think, for me personally, I don't carry any insurance, and maybe that's a bad idea. Again, I think depending on the state you're living in, it may be wiser than others. For me, it's probably very wise to carry insurance, but I don't. The reason why I don't carry insurance is frankly, I think, sometimes you pay into insurance and you never really, I always am worried that you're never going to see that money come back in the case if you do need it. With that said, I would also say that depending on your state, if you have a stand your ground law or something like that, you have a little bit more rights in regards to responding to, a threat. New York State is a little bit different. We don't have a stand your ground law. We have to, show a means of aggression, in other words, or egression, meaning that if you are threatened, you have to take every reasonable step to basically run away before you shoot someone, which, I guess is maybe smart, but, I don't have any experience with it. Do I see myself carrying insurance at some point? Probably not. And knock on wood, I hope I never have to, so yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it.
And that's a discussion that my wife and I have had. She saw or heard a commercial for the USCCA, and I've been going, same with BR 549, I've been going back and forth as well. But one of the things that came up out of the fighting pistol course that I went to with tactical response was insurance doesn't help anything other than the financial aspect of a situation. So yeah, it's good to have USCCA or Second Call Defense or some of the other ones that are out there, but you should also have a lawyer on retainer. Now, you can negotiate with a lawyer on what that actually means, whether you're going to drop, $200, $300, $500 for a lawyer on retainer, or you can work something else out with them. I'll let you guys figure that out. But the important thing is that you have a lawyer who is going to fight for you in court, and then you have the insurance to financially back you while you're in court. So those are two things to really jump in on there. So
yeah, and for my regards, I mean, my brother-in-law is an attorney, so I guess I'm a little bit more fortunate than others. So and he's also a concealed carry guy. So I'm assuming, I hope so, that he would be willing to defend me if ever need be.
Yeah, that's
I got to be nice to him. So
yeah. Well, it's always good to have that in your corner. So we had a couple other people jump into the chat room. Just want to say hi real quick. Swingler70, thanks for joining, and someone that may be familiar to the both of us here, Poe Performance, has jumped in. So really appreciate you guys swinging by. Thanks so much. I really appreciate everybody in the chat room and you guys going back and forth. That's what it's all about. I really, really love the idea of being able to connect everybody in the chat room and have a great discussion. So let's move on to our next topic here. If you guys don't already know, YouTube came after gun channels with a vengeance this past weekend. Brownell's channel was completely taken down without a strike, without a warning, nothing. They just pulled him down. And miraculously, I don't know how this happened, they came right back up on Sunday. So it's very interesting that channels like James Yeager was pulled down for a arbitrary strike, that stuff that shouldn't have been pulled down for, but his channel is completely gone lost forever. Brownell's, on the other hand, was pulled down and then brought back up. Were you affected at all, 1776? Or
no, I wasn't. And it's kind of funny. I've never been affected. Even when they had those mass demonetizations, I would have one video every 3 that would be demonetized. And then, of course, you'd have to, say remonetize, and here's why. But I've never been affected. Now, I would assume it's because I'm not considered a large channel. So I may not have a bullseye painted on the channel, where when you start to see the people who are really being affected, we're talking about probably the major players of YouTube. So it doesn't surprise me, because when you have that kind of attention, you immediately become a target. And I would suspect that these were direct and deliberate attacks against certain, people who have either, ruffled some feathers, or maybe just maybe David Hogg is out there saying, let's go after this and that, who knows. But it's good to see that, Brownell's came back, so that's good. But I also think that is a pretty large corporate entity that would be kind of hard to, keep down and quiet. So who knows?
So have you noticed any of your views dipping down? That's something that Pope brought up, and that's something I've seen.
That's kind of weird too, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't get 20, 30,000 views on anything I make. I would say in the first day of release, maybe close to 1,000 is about where I'm at averaging. And then it kind of slows down for me. I still have yet to discover the winning solution to getting more views. But I have noticed that the last couple of videos, I'm seeing maybe 250 to 400 views in the first day. So it seems like it's gotten cut in half. And so I definitely have noticed that part of it.
See, and that's something that I've noticed here over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 months, that in a week, I might see, 200, 300, 400 views. And now in some cases, I'm lucky to get 250 views in a few days, and it's just been really challenging. But I have gone back and looked at some of my other videos, some of my older videos, and those have been trucking along just fine,
Right.
which has been nice. So, um, Semi-Armed Life wanted to know what are some of your favorite gun tubers?
Well, I really, really like Fit and Fire and 180-second Ideas. I think those are entertaining channels. I like Poe Performance because he reminds me of a mystical teacher, which I can relate to. Um, who else do I really like? Honest Outlaw. He's awesome. Fantastic guy, by the way, too. Obviously KS, Big Johnson, Coda Boy 32, Pop's Quest. There's a lot of them that I like because a lot of the content they provide is just really geared to just everybody. And I think and again, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm not here to convince you I'm a world-class operator, because I'm not. And I just kind of like those types of channels where they just show you good stuff. They shoot pretty well, and they just talk to you like you're just an average guy. And I appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that actually kind of leads into something that we've got in the chat room. One of the individuals that has jumped into the chat room for the first time, and it kind of made it kind of special for me, and equates to what you just said. There is one of the people we have is Dagger Defense. Dagger Defense, if you guys don't know, is one of the channels or one of the companies that actually sent me some of the first products for me to review for the channel at no charge to me, which I really do greatly appreciate. And one of the things I love about Dagger Defense is the fact that this is great entry level optics, red dots, flip up sights, and stuff like that. It's not something that you have to break the bank to purchase. Right. And if it's something that you guys are needing that is going to be something that you're going to use for just kind of a house gun that or just to a planking gun or something like that, something that you're not going to deploy with. Dagger Defense does a great job. So I encourage everybody to swing on by, check them out, see what you think. And I'd have to also say I'm gushing a little bit because you said my name. So
it's a little gratuitous, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. So
it's all good.
Back to the topic on YouTube. In the strike mania, as I've been calling it here recently, is do you think that the Southern Poverty Law Center is getting involved in that? And the reason why I'm asking that is it's kind of a thought that I had yesterday and today is that they are actually secretly stirring up individuals to like in private Facebook groups or something like that, to say, these are the channels that we need you to go attack, go and flag as many videos as you possibly can. And that's something I'm very concerned about. And I know it's kind of conspiracy theory, but what's your thoughts?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned before, there is a huge agenda that is definitely spearheaded by, wealthy people. You look at Bloomberg's groups. I mean, he pours millions and millions of dollars into his anti-gun agenda. If you really want to go deep into conspiracy theories, obviously you bring up George Soros. He obviously bankrolls a lot of these types of, I guess you can call them almost rebellions. Look what he did over in Europe. It's very similar. So I wouldn't put it past that these groups are really organizing themselves. And I think ultimately that has definitely hurt us as a community, is the fact that we are not very well organized. The representatives that we have, some of them come across as just really, in my opinion, almost too radical about certain things. And I know that might, strike a nerve with some people, but I think the problem is that they're waiting for those more radicalized people to say something so then they can capitalize it and then twist it. And I think that's what's hurt us the most. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Southern Poverty Center is doing that. Obviously we have what happened in Florida, the Parkland shooting, and now we have David Hogg, who now is the messiah of all youth in America. And it is really not that. But again, I'm sure he's being bankrolled by obviously a larger entity. And until that really gets exposed and honestly, until people are willing to listen to that, it is not going to be favorable for us at all.
Do you think that David Hogg is still relevant?
I think he tries to appear as he's relevant. In my opinion, he never was. I think he and some of his colleagues are very opportunistic into regards of just getting spotlight shed on them, because they obviously did not represent the entire student body there. You know, you have kids there, I believe, I think it's the valedictorian of the school who is pro-gun. And I believe when he won the valedictorian award and was going to speak, there were many of those people on Hog's side who said they were going to boycott graduation. And so I guess he made a statement on Twitter or something saying, great, that's more graduation cake for me. And, you know, I just think that, you know, this anti-gun movement is the most asinine backwards thing, you know, because it's spearheaded by large money. And, you know, for me, and I've said this before, and I'd say it on your channel and anybody else's channel, and if you guys want to argue with me, try it. But I am still of the belief that this has nothing to do with guns. This is a mental health issue, and more importantly, it's a pharmaceutical issue. You have young kids who are basically being medicated from the time of being, you know, prepubescent kids, and you're basically filling them full of amphetamines, because all this ADHD medication, the hyperactivity you know, medication, they're amphetamines. So, you know, and if you do your research and you begin to see long-term use of amphetamines, well, what does it do? It rewires the chemistry of your brain. And it's not a surprise that you're seeing these things. And until we're willing to discuss that and adjust that and really start telling kids it's okay to be a little crazy, you're a friggin' kid, then I think we're not really going to solve the problem of what's going on in these schools and in these mass shootings.
You are 100% correct. And that is something that Joe Rogan pointed out right after the Parkland shooting, that we continue to dump all this medication into these kids and then wonder why they freak out, especially when the side effects on some of these anti-depression, anti-suicidal medications,
right?
The side effects is suicide.
Right.
I mean,
exactly. It's completely backwards. But, you know, again, there's so many different parts of this argument that, you know, nobody's willing to actually talk about, because the guns are the easiest target. And, you know, I look at it from the standpoint of the gun has nothing to do with killing people. It is the intention and the act of the person who carries that gun. And so, you know, if I have a pencil and I stab you with that pencil, are we going to boycott and ban pencils because now they're murder weapons? Well, I mean, that's asinine, and everybody would agree that that's asinine. So the gun thing is just as asinine as that. You know, you cannot condemn a tool. You cannot condemn an inanimate object for committing a crime when, in fact, it's the person who used that tool to commit the crime. And, you know, I am a very strong advocate for opening up the discussion about the pharmaceutical companies and how much money they have invested in these meds, and the politicians who have their bankrolls being fed by these lobbyist groups. And like I said, until we're willing to have that discussion, it's always going to be nothing but the same.
Yeah, and one of the things that Semi-Armed Life really brought up is that big pharma lobby spends about 4 times as much money in you know, special interest groups than the gun lobby is, right. But no one's ever going to talk about that. No. And you can equate that to the fact of, you just look at big oil. How many of these hydrocars that have been invented have actually hit the market? None, because big oil doesn't want to see those types of things.
Right.
You don't want to see hybrids because it's going to cut big oil's profits and so on and so forth. So they're fighting actively against it.
Right. I mean, and you make a great point with that, because even in the military, you know, they've had in their possession the ability to create hydrogen engines based off of water, where basically the only thing they're ejecting out of their tailpipes is water. And they've had that technology, but they won't use it because, obviously, like you said, it's, you know, there's too much money in oil.
Yes. Yep. So, well, whew, let me tell you, we've lit the chat room ablaze with some of our comments here.
Good stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. That really helps out the channel. It helps me out with the algorithms and all that jazz. Yeah. So really, really do appreciate that. So real quick, before we get into me turning this over to you, what are some of the things that you like to do outside of firearms? What kind of hobbies do you have? How do you stay active? So on and so forth.
Well, for me personally, for years I was involved in, Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before it was cool. And, I did that for a long time. And I know that you started doing it. And I've made comments about your poor technique.
Yeah, yeah.
And, so I did that for a long time. And then about 3.5, 4 years ago, I was actually in the ring with somebody. And I shouldn't have been because I was 40 years old and I was fighting this kid who was like 23. And so I went to lay him out because I couldn't stand this guy. And I've known him for a little while. So I went to lay him out and I hit him as hard as I could right in his jaw. And, and I felt a pop in my arm and I wound up tearing my bicep. And, I just overextended the punch and I felt it. And ever since then, I had to kind of stop doing that. So now, I'm at the gym. I try to run as much as I can. Um, it's definitely not the same. I would tell you that much. So I definitely need to get back into that mindset because I think that's 100% more important than the physicality of it. So I try to work out more, and it's tough because I got 2 young kids. So I'm involved with my son a lot. He's into lacrosse. So, I'm with him all the time. My daughter plays soccer. So I try to go to her stuff all the time. She's into singing. So a lot of the stuff that I do, if it's not working out at the gym, it's just 100% family. With my kids and my wife. And, that's the major part of my life right there. If I'm not working and I'm not at the gym, I'm with my family. And that's something I live by and it ain't changing anytime soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that if we found more, and please do not, anyone that's watching or listening or even yourself, please don't take this the wrong way. But if we found more men who would step up and be a part of the family as much as possible, I think that we would see a lot of the problems here in the United States going away. Or
Right.
even if you just take the man part out of it, regardless if it's a loving wife or
Right.
a loving husband who is there to nurture and raise their kids correctly,
Right.
I think we'd have a lot of
Yeah.
great.
And it's not a gender thing either. I think men and women both have lost what it means to be a parent. I think a lot of people are very, self-absorbed with, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And I think you have to have that balance. You got to find the balance. There's nothing wrong with doing that stuff. But, my opinion, kids come first, the wife comes first. Once their needs are met, then I do what I want to do. And that's why, when I get a new gun, it's always a great feeling because, I did whatever I had to do on the side. And now that I have this new gun, it's all the work that I put into everything pays off. That's why for me, you don't necessarily see every single new gun every other week. I just can't afford to do it. And I'm okay with that. I try to be as creative as possible with what I have and then just go from there.
Right on, right on. It's good to hear someone say that, because yeah, we won't go into it too much. I get all gushy
Yeah,
here.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
So I hear you said lacrosse. That's a
Oh yeah.
very post sport, wouldn't you say?
It's now starting to finally get its due up where I live. I mean, obviously in the Long Island area, it's always been huge down there, Rockland County, those places, and now finally it's creeping up, and especially northern New York. Especially like on the Iroquois reservations they have. I mean, their lacrosse team up in northern New York is friggin' phenomenal. So it's finally now starting to get its due, and a lot of the younger kids are moving away from baseball to play it, and it's a great sport. I mean, the games are about an hour. It's physical, it's fun, very highly competitive, and it just, in my opinion, it is the ideal sport.
And it's kind of like soccer where the clock is always moving, right?
Yep, it's like a combination of soccer, football, and hockey all at
Yes.
once, and parts of basketball actually too. If you understand those sports, it's a very easy sport to get.
Right on, right on. So this is the moment of the chat that I'd like to turn things over to you. You can ask questions of me. You can interact with the chat room, whatever you want to do. It's
Sure.
up on you. So take it away, sir.
So, my question for you, sir, would be, what is your goal in all of this YouTube universe? What is it that you really want to accomplish in all of this?
That's a great question. I haven't really put together much of a plan. I don't have a 5-year plan or a 2-year plan. I just put the channel together because number one, I like to talk, and most of the things that I like to talk about, the wife really doesn't want to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I figured, why not just put a channel together and be able to talk to a camera, interface with you guys kind of remotely a little bit. But ultimately, I want to be able to expand my knowledge and learn more about firearms, because the more that I get involved into these guns and stuff like that, the more that I learn. And that's the biggest thing. And I'd like to get to a point where I can become somewhat respected as a source material, as a source that, hey, if I have a question about something, I can go to this guy and talk to him. Or, if I have a question about training or drills, I can go to this guy. So, and one of the guys that's in the chat room is, his name's Mike, and he's with Munitions Weapons Tactical. I get those two mixed up every single time. Yeah, Munitions Weapons Tactical, or M-W Tactical. He's a trainer out of South Carolina. He's a 22-year Army vet, retired infantry, and he was a great guy to meet at NRAM. So shout out to him, and he's kind of someone that I'm trying to aspire to.
Cool. And then my other question would be is, obviously you're ex-military, and, do you think that ex-military guys, when they start YouTube channels, tend to get I guess, a better credibility than, let's say, a guy who was never military, or, just kind of a guy who sits on his couches and wanted to talk about guns?
I would say initially, yes. And the reason why is because there is a persona that is, or maybe a romance about people that are in the military, that these guys know, these guys know guns, they know tactics and stuff like that. But you have to listen to what they're saying, because, oh man, what is one of the Semi-Armed Life? What's one of your favorite YouTubers that you talked about? I can't. Oh, regular guy, regular firearms guy, regular something like that. He's got a channel. He's been around for a while, and if you listen to him, you can pick up that he's like infantry or Cav Scout or something like that. Where I was a tanker. Someone was asking what branch and how long. I was Army, and I was in for 11 years. And the wife and I decided to call it quits, come home. So I was a tanker. So the things that I was most involved in were 50 calibers, M240s, 120 millimeter smoothbore cannon, M9 and M4. That was it.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, but at the same time, my tactics on how to fight is completely different than an infantry guy, right? So if you're in a cav unit or an armor battalion, you're going to hunt. You're going to do hunter killer tactics, right? You're going to have a wingman with you, right? Where if infantry squads, you're going to have a fire team or a squad with you, and there's different tactics for that. So the short answer is yes, but asterisks, listen to what they're saying, because they may be a mechanic that.
Exactly. That's good. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Great point. Let me think. What else would I want to ask you? So how are you enjoying that the MMA that you started doing? I'm just curious.
So I have. It's very odd, because I'll come home and the wife will look at me and say, "Where did that bruise come from?" And I get these weird bruises especially here. I get these weird bruises all over the place. And
wait till you start breaking toes.
Oh yeah,
that's even better.
Yeah, I've broken one toe in my life, and that was from soccer. So so mostly right now, I just got my gi last week. So now I'll be able to really kind of get involved deep into jiu-jitsu. Now, I'm not doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I had been calling it Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but it's actually jiu-jitsu. It's just straight up Japanese jiu-jitsu.
It's different.
A little bit different, but
just remember, thumbs up every time you grab their gi. Thumbs up. You put your thumbs in, they're going to break your thumbs. That's just an old trick I learned the hard way.
I haven't heard that, but I'll definitely remember it now. So. It's the one thing I like about it is I work out almost every single day, 4 to 5 times a week, and it's the high intensity interval training style. So it's a low impact version of CrossFit. So I'm not
Right.
doing Olympic style lifting
Yep. Yep.
or the tip up pull ups or anything like that. And then the gym that I go to is using HIIT training with a boxing element. So that gets me sweating and get my
Right.
heart rate up each and every single time I go. But then on Fridays when I go to jujitsu, that workout is completely different. And I think it's a great balance to shock the system once
Oh
every
yeah,
week.
absolutely. And I think once you start the jujitsu, you're going to realize that it is such an all-encompassing sport. You're going to work muscles that you never knew you had. Um, I can tell you, man, I used to come home and I could barely walk after I was done because my legs were killing me. I'd have a problem with my shoulder. And again, as you get older, as you know, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any easier. It just gets worse. But sometimes that's why you have to, be the adult and say, maybe I need to take a day off. Because if not, you're just going to break down really quickly. So that's just, things that I found as I was getting older and my body was changing.
Yeah, it's humbling when you roll with a guy who is
Hmm.
probably about 10 years younger than you, weighs about 20 pounds less than you, and then ties you up in a pretzel.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I will tell you, it's also a lot of fun to get that young buck in and you choke him out within 3 seconds. That's
Yeah.
even funner or more fun. Sorry, grammar people.
Yeah. So what else? What else you got?
Just what are you looking at? Any new guns? I mean, I love talking guns, Mark. So,
Oh
are you
yeah.
looking at anything in particular that kind of has your fancy?
Oh yes. We've talked about it a couple times. I am looking to purchase my first CZ, but I have no idea which one to get. I want a Shadow 2, but I don't want to spend $1,200 on it.
Right. I hear
Uh,
you.
the CZ 75 PO1 Tactical may be a viable
SPO1.
SPO1. Yes, thank
Yep.
you. Um, that may be a viable.
I think that's always a good in between. I mean, the Shadow 2 is a really good gun. I mean, it's a great gun, but it's an expensive gun. And, for me, it's just so cost prohibitive. And then on top of that, I'm really not going to be shooting it all that much. As I've said in the past, every gun I own, I carry. So that to me is not a carry gun. So it really wouldn't have a purpose for me. But that's just my own personal opinion. But the SPO1 TAC is a great handgun. I would tell you the Phantom is fantastic. It's polymer, so it's a lot lighter and it shoots great. The PO7, PO9. I mean, there's just so many great offerings from CZ that you really couldn't go wrong with any of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The so I took my Glock 19 in and had it had some upgrades done to it, and the one thing that I did do after seeing a certain video on Instagram last week where the guy bent over and shot himself in
Oh
the
yeah.
you see that?
Oh yeah.
Oh! So my Glock 19 had been set up for competition. So it had a ZEV competition trigger kit and connector put into it. So I pulled all that stuff out and I put all the stock stuff back in
Right.
because I do now have an appendix rig for my Glock 19,
Gotcha.
and I'm gonna I'll carry it off and on between that and a P365. So
Hey,
um,
give me 1 second. I hear my wife calling me,
oh,
so
absolutely.
it must be an emergency. I'll
No,
be back. Two
I'll keep on
seconds.
talking. I'll keep on talking. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now is just kind of trying to figure out which CZ is going to be right for me. So let's get over to the chat room real quick. Let's talk to you guys to see what's going on. Oh, Dagger Defense says, what about the Bren? I'm not very familiar with that one. I've seen it kicked around a little bit, but I haven't been really too I don't want to say interested, just not really haven't grasped some of these lesser known pistols, that is. So let's see what else we got. Let's see. Ooh, I got to scroll back here, guys. You guys are just making this live chat bust out of here. So I really appreciate that. Let's see. I see that MW Tactical says that he does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every day. And with you being as tall as you are and as lengthy as you are, you're going to be a very formidable opponent, I'm sure. Logan White says that he's a yellow belt in kickboxing and only uses my hands since I'm paralyzed from the waist down. So
Sorry
Logan,
about that.
hey, no problem, no problem.
Duty
Logan,
calls.
yeah, I totally understand. So Logan, good to hear. Way to stay active, even though you're in that situation. So let's see. Back to MW Tactical says agency arms M&P complete build Canic and a Type B by Arkan
Oh,
firearms.
the Archon, which was Arsenal, which was the Strike B, which is now the Type B, which has not come out yet. I actually was on the waiting list for that handgun for a while, and then as the plot thickened, so to speak, with the manufacturer, I asked for my money back from Rain 6, and I am awfully glad I did, because the release dates have come and gone, and they're saying now it was going to be released by spring, and spring is almost officially over, folks. As a matter of fact, I think we have about 9 days left of spring till summer hits. And so far, no Strike B or Type B or whatever they're going to call it next week.
Yeah, and that goes along with the P365. I know that my brother back ordered one with brown L's, and
Right.
we were supposed to get it by the end of March, and then April came, and April went, and now May is here, or was here, and came and went, and
Right,
now
because you still haven't gotten that, right?
no, I got it
Oh, you did?
because yes, I did get it. I was able to get in good with the guys behind the counter at Academy Sports, and I gave them a business card, and I says, if one comes in, give me a call. I'll be right in to get it. So yeah. MW Tactical says August or September now for that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that is, you know, say what you want. I've got my own personal opinion about that, but you know, I think it's a lot of swampland in Florida, if you ask me.
Yeah. So got some real good real estate.
Oh yeah, sure. And then the bridge to buy too when you're done. So you know, I wanted to talk about what you were saying before with the appendix carry and stuff. You know, I just actually started carrying appendix with Harry's holsters and the Shield 2.0. And, you know, I feel fairly secure with it. You know, it has the Apex trigger set up in it. You know, I don't know what the story was with the guy who bent over and shot himself in the thigh. I'm going to assume that whatever he was carrying that in was not a Kydex holster. It actually looked like a soft holster that he pulled out. So, I mean, you know, I'm of the belief that for a gun to go off, that trigger has to be activated somehow. And, you know, if something gets caught in your holster, it's really going to be up to you to make sure and maintain that stuff. And it goes back to everything else, safety, safety, safety. So when you have a gun with you, you know, if it's loaded, if it's not loaded, you know, and I get this flack a lot of times on my channel when I do a video and it's pointed at my hand or something, but that's a little bit different. I mean, I'm on a table. I know the guns are cleared. So I don't worry about that. You know, in a real life situation, I most certainly am not muzzling myself. I'm not muzzling anything I don't want to shoot if I have to. And you bet that my finger is not anywhere near that trigger. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see what the full story was on that. But again, you know, I don't necessarily hesitate, although it did make me definitely, you know, take a second look.
Yeah, definitely. And that was, like I said, one of the major reasons why I took that Zev competition kit out. But the biggest lesson learned out of that whole situation is bend at the knees, kids, not at the waist, right?
Yeah, and then the Semi-Armed Life was saying that it was actually a G-code Kydex, and so that would definitely not be a soft holster problem. But like he's mentioning, the fact that it probably is some sort of debris or something got inside of that trigger, you know, the trigger guard or the well. But who knows? You know, I don't know.
Yep, and that's one of the reasons why I love this holster, because it's very compact. This is the Wolf Hollow. I always mess up the name. I always call it Lone Wolf, but it's Wolf Hollow Tactical. I love their design. It's actually a taco vertical sidecar. I love it. So guys, definitely check those out. It's very compact, easy to carry, and doesn't really bother you in the waist. So
All right, since we're showing off holsters really
there
quick,
it is. Yeah.
that's another one from Harry right there, for the 19X. Awesome stuff, Harry. Anything Cryptek I like. If it's Cryptek, I love it. I love that camouflage pattern. So
Why is that?
I would buy a car if it was painted Cryptek. I'll be honest with you. I love it that much.
What's the appeal to it?
I don't know, man. I just like it. You know, like there's certain camos that look good. There's just something about Cryptek camo that just is friggin' awesome.
Yeah. So
I've been able to figure out. It's just one of those things for me.
it's because of Call of Duty, isn't it? Don't lie.
No, you know what it is? It's just, I mean, come on, look at that. How cool is that camouflage pattern? You know, that's Cryptek Highlander. You know, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, and you did get some flack on your appendix carry.
Oh
yeah, holster,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, yeah,
yeah. I had to chime in on that, dude.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. I got pissed at those comments, and then all of a sudden, this guy shoots himself in the leg, and then I'm like, damn it, maybe I shouldn't have, gotten pissed about that. But at the same time, I mean, it's like anything else. You know, how did something get inside that holster that would have made that trigger go off? Unless he wasn't carrying it with him and he put it in. But I mean, there's so many different things that could be argued with that. Fortunately for me, I've never had a negligent discharge. Thank God. But, it's always about safety, but then again, I don't really ever carry appendix until, Harry sent that to me, and it's been great. I'm usually a 3 to 4:30 person,
Yep.
But,
so have you had a chance to carry appendix and then take a extended drive?
Yeah, and I've been carrying the Shield quite a bit for that reason, and I've gone to dinner with it. I didn't take it out to dinner, but I went to dinner carrying it, and it's great, man. It doesn't poke you. I know that a lot of people were kind of iffy with the grip texturing on the Smiths. But, wear a t-shirt underneath. It's not, who cares? You wear like a wife beater shirt underneath your regular shirt. Oh God, who cares about if you tear it up, but it's been extremely comfortable. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever.
Right. So, and that's one of the things that I found too, is with some of the different pistols that I carry, is your you said the Shield, right?
Yep.
Is it the 2.0?
Yeah, the 2.0. Yep.
So it has the more aggressive texture in it.
Yep.
So
which is this little guy right here.
Yeah. So what I have found is with the 2.0 and 2.0 Shield and the full size, I have to wear an undershirt because that really rubs me.
Oh yeah. No, I absolutely. And the good thing about the Shield is that the texturing on the Shield is a little bit less rough than on a full-size M&P. I have the compact and I've got the 4 1/4 inch, and both of those are much more aggressive than the Shield. The Shield actually, honestly, it feels like it's even getting a little bit smoother just from constant use. But it's got a good texturing to it. I think it's absolutely manageable. But to each their own.
Yep. So real quick, we've kind of busted an hour here, but one of the questions that popped up out of the chat room is, and I know this is going to be everyone's hated question, favorite gun.
Man, it's anything new. It's funny you say that because I think one of my subscribers gave me crap because I was saying that I love the 19X. And they basically said, well, you love every gun you have. And he's absolutely right. I do. I mean, if I don't like the gun, I'm not going to keep it. If I had a favorite gun, one gun that I would never, ever, ever consider getting rid of, it's this one right here. And this is my P01. This is the non-Omega. It's the original. It is the NATO spec amazing wonder gun. To me, this is the best CZ that has ever been made, bar none. And there's people out there. So no, shout out. Look, if you're going to carry a gun, this would be the one I would get first, the P01.
I am so shocked that it's not the Steyr.
No, dude, listen, I love the Steyrs, but this one here is a replacement. The first gun I ever bought was a CZ P01, and I wound up selling it years ago like a moron to get striker fired guns. And I was on a mission to eventually replace it, and I did. And I'll never ever get rid of this gun again. It's just an amazing handgun. It really is. Shoots great, carries well, not too heavy, not too light, and it just works every single time. And you know, like I said, I liked it so much, I wound up getting, you know, the Omega, and
So
can't beat them.
what's the difference between the PO1 and the PO1 tactical?
Well, the SPO1 Tactical is a full-size steel frame gun, so it's going to be a lot heavier. The P01, which is basically the sub, I wouldn't say subcompact, but the compact version of it, it used to come in a steel frame with a safety only, and then they obviously went to decocker mode, and now it's an alloyed frame. So you get the steel slide with the alloy frame, so it's lighter than you know, obviously that full steel body. So it's great to carry. I mean, you can still get a 75 compact, but that's going to be the steel body with the safety. You get the P01, you're getting your decocker, and you're getting the you know, the alloyed frame. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
So in the different conditions that you have to carry that in, with it being a decocker, do you carry around in it with the hammer down, and then it's a double action?
So basically, you know, once I rack the chamber, hammer goes back, just decock it. Now it's about quarter cock, half cock, whatever you want to call it. And so you still get that pretty lengthy pull, you know, but it's not as bad. Now, I've actually put in the $18 spring kit in this from Cajun Gunworks. And if you guys have a P01 and you don't want to spend like $300 just to get this gun running like a competition gun, which it's not meant to be, I would recommend that $18 job. It is super easy to do yourself. It's basically one roll pin and that's it. And then, you know, you pop the springs in, put the roll pin back in, and you're good to go. And right now I'm carrying at double action's about 9 pounds, and then the single action's 4 pounds. So it's very manageable, and it's just a fantastic handgun overall.
Right on, right on. So, oh, so many guns. So
I know, man. So many guns, so little money. Trust me, you know. But that's the beauty of it. You know, certain guns I will sell to buy guns to test them out to see how I like them. And, you know, some of them are just going to be keepers for life, while others are just going to be, you know, kind of blowing in the wind at some point. You know, for me, the P01s are keepers. The Steyr M9's a keeper. This Glock 19X, by the way, Mark, you might want to seriously consider this a gun, man. I am absolutely blown away just about how awesome this gun is. If I can get it out of the holster, that'd be great. But I love the full length grip of a 17, always have. But without those little finger grooves, I didn't think I would like it, but it just feels a little more round, which is kind of shocking to say about a Glock, you know, but it is great, man. It's a great gun. I haven't shot it yet. I'm going to hopefully shoot it on Sunday, Father's Day, but I really like it. I really like it a lot. So
far, I have not found a gun store local to me that has one of those in stock for me to actually feel in my hand. And I didn't, I wasn't able to see one when at NRAM either.
Well,
so
if you can find a Gen 5 Glock 17, it's the same thing. You know, the only difference is you don't have the stupid cutout at the bottom here on the Gen 5s, which, by the way, Pierce now makes the magazine base plates that actually fill in that gap.
That's funny.
That's why I never got a Gen 5, because I can't stand that. I mean, it definitely bites at your finger, and it just made no sense to me whatsoever.
Does the lanyard loop on the 19X come out?
Yep. You just take a little, like a little punch back there, and you just punch the little button in and pull it right out. I actually pulled it out before, but then you have this open gap there, so I just popped it back in, and it doesn't extend anywhere past the magazine, so it's not going to affect you if you're concealed carrying it.
So I've only had one person ever tell me this, and I've never been able to confirm it, but from what I understand is that hole that you always see on the back of your Glocks is meant for you to put your thumb on the back to be able to rip out.
See, now I've heard differently. I've heard that is to make sure that if any debris gets caught in there, can come out. That's what I've heard. So I don't know if I don't know. I mean, sticking your thumb back there, you know, because I think everybody who tries to extract a magazine, if it's, you know, if you're trying to, you know, get it out of there, you're going to pull from the sides. I think it's just more of a natural pull that way. Why Glock decided to put that in the front, I don't know. But there is that massive gap even in the back of the grip now with the Glock. So you have it in the front, but it just seems like you're not going to get enough leverage. But again, I'm not an engineer. They must have thought about it and decided that was the best way to go. So who knows?
Right on, right on. So let's wrap it up. You got anything else that you wanted to touch base on, or?
You know, just I want to say thanks for inviting me onto the chat tonight. I always appreciate coming on to these. They're always fun, you know, because again, you get to know people a little bit better. If all you guys out there haven't subscribed to Fit and Fire, please subscribe to him. If you haven't subscribed to me, subscribe to me. And if any of these folks here have channels on YouTube, please subscribe to them as well, as we're kind of all in this together, so to speak. You know, in regards to content wise, I just put my hands on that Beretta APX today. So that finally came in, and I have to put my information in now. So that's going to be about a 3-week wait. Great. But I have to say, I am very surprised with that, the APX. It feels like something very familiar to me, but I can't tell you until I make that video. Other than that, I'm trying to work on some other things. I got a couple of bites and a couple of hits here and there. If any of you folks have any inside connections to anybody and they want a review done, send them my way. I'll be more than happy to do that, because it just gives me new content and it gives me the ability to test crap out. And I love testing crap. Not that I want crap, but you know, you get what I mean. Other than that, man, I can't wait to shoot the 19X. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and you know, just keep on making content that hopefully draws more people in.
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick, just so everybody knows, where can they find you?
You can find me at my YouTube channel, 1776 or Bust. Also on Insta, same thing, and that's about it. I don't really do much of the social media stuff. Just those two.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of the same way I am. I'm mostly on Instagram and obviously YouTube. All my Instagram stuff transfers over to my Facebook page. So I'm not really on Facebook, but I am, you know. Yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, Mr. 1776.
No problem. By the way, my name is Phil. We don't really ever say my name, but that is my name. But everybody calls me 17 or whatever, so it's all good.
Right on. So again, thank you to everybody in the chat room. It was extremely active tonight, and that really makes me happy to see you guys talking back and forth. One of the biggest things that I really enjoy is being able to connect people and connect some of my viewers to 1776 or some of the other people that have been on my show. That really makes me happy to be able to extend that olive branch. So if you haven't already subscribed to 1776, please do, because the stuff that he gets into is really super cool. You've got a series that you've got.
Yeah, the First Time Gun Buyer series, yes. And I'm running out of ideas. So if anybody has any ideas, just again, you can always message me and connect with me that way, and I'll be more than happy to show the content. You know, I think I've gotten to 7 episodes. I can't remember, 6 or 7 episodes, but I'd like to continue it, but I just have to start thinking about more ideas on where to go from there.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I'll go ahead and wrap it up here real quick. Thank you again to everybody out there. Thank you to my Patreons. That is a huge help to the channel. I had one question in the chat room asking about the Glock 19. My next video is going to be the new improved Glock 19, so stay tuned for that. It'll drop a little bit later on this week as soon as I have time to pull that together, because I've got 2 other episodes to pull together for next week while I'm off abroad. So again, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe to my channel, subscribe to 1776 or Bust. You can find me on all of the different social media stuff that is down in the description below as soon as this uploads to the YouTubes, and I'll have all of 1776 or Bust information there as well. So again, thank you so much for everybody swinging by. Definitely check out fitandfire.com. I've got a lot of stuff there, and we will see you next week. And as always, keep calm and carry. Have a good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.